Mail everybody, I'm Cantonese Cat. Everybody, Cantonese Cat. I'm gonna go through miners, Bitcoin miners as fast as I can. I do see a lot of indications, just like what my collaborator, Great Maspy, is saying. A lot of things that show that hey, I think we might be close to bottom for a lot of these different miners. First off, this is CleanSpark. I have the Gann chart here, 180-200, and basically the way I see it is that it has gotten rejected at the arc over here and found back support over here at this horizontal line. So that's really a good area for it to have found support because it's a pretty important horizontal zone back in the days. The couple other things too, I do think that this month most likely is going to close back above a rising 20-month moving average. Currently is at 9.21. I think this month still have another couple of weeks to go. Most likely it's going to end up closing back above it just because it's possibly rising. I have a hard time seeing it really closing underneath it. And it closed underneath it, that's okay because it did find support here at the horizontal zone right around here, and so far it's also kind of getting a little bit about this volume shelf over here. So a couple other things too, looking at the closing in on the weekly chart here. I'm going to do a Fibonacci level here. First of all, just looking at the weekly, a lot of these miners are doing the same thing. You have an inside candle last week on pretty much on high volume, right? High volume inside candle generally is potential for it to have a little bit of a reversal pattern. So far, you have inside candle, off an inside candle. So we'll see what happens after that. I'm going to go through a couple other things too, just looking at the Fibonacci from the cycle high over here. I have my magnet on, go cycle low down here, somewhere around here. You can see basically it's finding support right under 0.5 to turn off the volume shelf for you to be able to see that. It's really able to find support here at the 0.5. And a lot of these miners are basically showing very similar behavior, right? So that's good. Turn off the Fibonacci levels here. Also looking at the 100 moving average, you can also see that it's finding support right there, just like I thought. Support zone, resistance, resistance, support, right? Very important zone. So we're finding support here at this area. And the support was happening with a pretty high volume bounce. So even though it's an inside candle, I think it's building a lot of energy potentially for it to have a little bit of a trend reversal. This is really one of the indicators that I think CleanSpark probably had bottomed. Looking at the other charts here, so I got Mara. I'm going to zoom out here on the monthly. The monthly, you can see that it's got two really nice wick over here. This really does look like its bottom. It has it hitting a 45-degree angle. That's always a positive thing. And also just looking at the 20-month moving average, current is still above the 20-month moving average, which is around 15.3, and it's right above that. So all these are very promising signs. Zooming in here a little bit, again, same thing. You got a little bit of inside candle over here on pretty decent volume last week, right? The inside candle, decent volume, maybe a little bit of a trend reversal. Who knows? The other thing is to look at the moving average again. 100 moving average serve as support perfectly. Just like it was resistance over here, just like it was support here before it broke down, just like it was support over here before really blasted up, right? So 100 moving average seemed to be a pretty important area here. The other thing too, I'm going to turn off the 100 moving average here, looking at Fibonacci all the way from the cycle high over here, if I can find that, all the way down to the cycle low over here. If I can drag that down to there you go. So what are you seeing so far? Well, so far it's trying to reclaim the 0.5. It's not like CleanSpark where it's already more or less reclaimed it. Mara is actually just slightly below it and it's still serving as a little bit as a resistance, but it's right around there. So I still find that Mara's chart is it's pretty decent. That also looks like it might be an area if you get rid of the Fibonacci and then you just go back to it again, it does look like you got like this double wick over here, which generally is a pretty good bottoming behavior. And also again with the 20-month moving average pointing up, with the fact that it's at a 45-degree angle, I think there's a strong possibility that we might have bottomed. And also just looking inside with the inside high volume inside candle, it's also another potential reason why I think that we might have bottomed over here too. Really, if you're talking about BitFarms, it has the same exact chart as Mara. I'm not even going to really go through that much. Same thing, right? Mara, 45-degree angle. You have a bit of a tweezer bottom over here. BitFarm is the same thing, tweezer bottom over here, 45-degree angle, right? Nothing is really different about it. 20-month moving average serving as support. If you're going down into the weekly here, high volume weekly inside candle. All these miners are really looking very similar. Now, if you're asking about the Fibonacci, I'm going to go to the previous all-time high all the way down to the cycle low. And this one is a little bit better than Mara. It's kind of like CleanSpark, reclaimed the 0.5 here on the log Fib, right? So a lot of these miners are basically looking very similar. You look at Cypher. Cypher does have a little bit less price history to chart, but if you look at the cycle bottom all the way up in hydraulic land here, basically is finding support over here too at the horizontal. So I think it's looking pretty decent. I think it's also probably forming pretty decent bottom here. You look at Fibonacci all the way from the all-time high all the way down to the all-time low here. If I can drag it all the way down, there you go. And you can see that it's really above the 0.5. And it's also basically finding support here on the horizontal zone over here. So overall, Cypher is also possibly bottom, also had a high volume inside candle here, just like all the other ones. There's really not much difference between like all of these different miners. A couple of them that look a little bit better. Irene, let me see if I calibrate this. Yeah, I calibrate this on the weekly here. Irene looks like it's just stuck inside the arc. Irene looks like it's stuck inside this range over here on the volume shelf. But overall, there's really nothing bad to say about Irene, because if you zoom out, if you do a little bit of a 20-month moving average is way above that, looks very tweezery right into the bottom of the arc right there, which is a pretty bottomy type behavior. And just overall, it just looks like it's finding resistance here on a tweezer, finding support here in the tweezer. Most likely going to have having some kind of bullish continuation. That's what I'm seeing with Irene. Irene is actually one of the better looking ones here. Let me see if there's anything else I want to say about it. Really not much. And again, on the weekly, you're seeing very similar behavior. You have an inside candle and high volume. A lot of these are really showing some pretty similar behavior here. If you're looking at the Fibonacci level, I'm going to have to get rid of the volume shelf here. It is finding support in the volume shelf, though. From the all-time high all the way down to the cycle low, doing a exponential Fibonacci sequence here, you are at resistance, a very important resistance, which is the 0.618. So this one is a little bit closer to resistance here, so don't be surprised if short-term CleanSpark, Mara, and BitFarms or even Cypher do a little bit better than Irene here in the short term, just because Irene looked like it's at a pretty important resistance level there. But yeah, still a pretty good looking chart. Wolf, this one also looks pretty good. Again, it's at the arc resistance, so don't be surprised if short term the other miners actually hold up a little bit better than Wolf. But overall, there's really nothing bad to say about it. It's just trying to break through the arc. It's just having a little bit of a hard time doing it. But it's finding support here at the volume shelf, right? If you look at the Fibonacci, the difference between Wolf is, I think, the price really plummeted from like all this high up there all the way down to the low. So right now you're underneath the 0.5, but it may not mean as much because like they really weren't truly like a Bitcoin miner back in the days when it was trading up here anyway. So the fundamentals has really significantly changed. Although, yeah, Fibonacci wise, you still might have a little bit ways to go. You're still underneath a little bit of resistance over here. So again, don't be surprised if Terawolf is maybe a little bit underperforming in the short term. There's one good thing about Terawolf that others don't have, which is that is one of the rare ones that is actually still about the bull run support band. Today, you have like a 10% down move. Actually, it's just finding support at the bull run support band. It's finding pretty decent support here so far. So I wonder if it's just going to try and push through the arc. If it doesn't, it could go down further. If you ask me how much further, gosh, I don't know. Let's look at the monthly chart here. I'm going to basically take off all this stuff here. Look at the 20-month moving average. It's all the way down here at like 2.2. Is it going to go down there? Probably not, but who knows. Ichimoku, you're also finding support over here so far, right? Support at the monthly Tenkan is around 3.87, right down is above that. You're also seeing the support underneath here, the Kijun, which is around 3.52, and that could potentially be a support if it ends up breaking down the current level, right? So bullish cross, things above Tenkan and Kijun, not a bad looking chart here at all, and that's Terawolf. BTBT, you were talking about right now, yeah, a lot of these are kind of underneath the Tenkan and Kijun, unfortunately. But if you're looking at the Gann here, and again with the Gann here, I think I calibrated this on the monthly here. You can see that it's also like all the other miners find some pretty decent support over here. It's also finding support at the 0.382 Fibonacci level. So it's finding a lot of great support. I also think that probably has found a local bottom. Even today it did go down like 8%, just kind of came back and tested the Fib level. But it's no big deal, right? Sometimes these miners can go plus or minus 10%, and it's just normal volatility for them. Right now, I like to see kind of break above the arc, but right now it's still kind of stuck in a range, if you will. So I think it's pretty clear that it's stuck in a range. If I zoom out here a little bit, just like the other miners, last week had an inside candle on high volume. Again, potentially a little bit of a sentiment or a change, shift right here, maybe. The let's see here. Yeah, but really, this is one of those that just like the other ones, it's looking pretty decent. I think it has most likely form a little bit of a bottom over here. Got a really nice tweezel look, finding support here, a very important Fibonacci level. So can't say too many bad things about it. Cores, I actually do want to talk a little bit about cores. Not much price history here, but I do have weekly. If I do a Fibonacci level, I do like just 90 and the ratio 1. You can see something that's very interesting thing here. First of all, it does look like it's a little bit like an ascending triangle. And second of all, I think it is trying to break above the horizontal line over here. Last week, you have a pretty high volume breakout, like it's like a bullish kicker kind of candle. And it did push above and close above the horizontal zone over here around 10.8, 10.9, so around there. So far, this week is really above that. So cores actually is looking pretty decent, to be honest. I don't really have much else to say about it. It's also still about like a 20-week moving average. Not much price history though, so I'm just going to leave it as that. Riot. This is a little bit of a sad case here, but it's still basically doing what it's supposed to based on, like, from a technical standpoint. I'm doing this weekly Gann here. I have 720 and 2, and it does give you a pretty decent picture in terms of what's going on. Just getting rejected here from the arc over here, and it's just been trying to find support underneath. Broke back about this arc and just been riding the arc down ever since. Finding support here at the angle over here so far, the 45-degree angle. It looks like it's finding support, right? Again, last week, high volume candle, inside candle, just like all the other ones, but the price action is just a lot weaker than the other ones, unfortunately. Looking at the Fibonacci level, I'm going to do it from the cycle high over here, all the way down to the cycle low over here, and the magnet's going to go all the way up to the wick right there. There you go. So where are you at right now? Interesting support, right? Interesting support at the 0.236 Fib level on the log scale, which is around 6.9. So far, it's finding support over there. It's also finding support at the angle over here. So there are a lot of various support that you're seeing here that does make me think that this is a pretty important bottom. I don't know whether or not it's the bottom. Obviously, you can break down underneath 45-degree angle and just keep riding down the arc is possible, but I don't think it necessarily has to do that. I think it's probably corrected enough. The but you're also seeing the fact that it's also at some pretty important support. It does make you wonder whether or not it's going to make a little bit of a trend change. I don't know. Finally, I'm going to talk about one last one, which is HUD 8. With HUD 8, I'm really not going to talk too much about it, except that, right now I do have a Gann here that's drawn. Right now it's underneath an arc resistance. Can it go down the arc? Yes, it can, right? And you've also zooming out here a little bit, if you're looking at the 20-month moving average, it's underneath the 20-month moving average here a little bit. It's trying to reclaim that here a little bit, but it's underneath of that right now. So a lot of these miners are looking better. That looks like they're really at bottom, but HUD might actually be hitting a little bit of resistance here in the short term. So I think those are all miners I want to go through. Now you want to talk about targets. I'm going to talk about targets here real quick. And to give targets, I think Gann Fibonacci level can help in terms of trying to give you targets. I don't think that the log Fibonacci extension is going to get hit this cycle. I really do not. But if you're just taking the Fibonacci kind of taken out of it, for CleanSpark, I can see it totally trying to hit, let me see here. Yeah, for CleanSpark, I can totally see it trying to hit the above levels up here, right? I can totally see it hitting up 15. But before it does that, it has to kind of break about the arc over here, and it also has to break about the arc over here before you really challenge this horizontal zone up here. I can totally see that the end cycle might be around 65 or so. If it ends up hitting the arc up here, then you're talking about maybe like 150 to like 200. But we'll see what Bitcoin does. It really depends on what Bitcoin does, right? But I do think that most likely cycle might end up around like in the 60s. I can see that happening. And that would be really just at, close to the Ichimoku cloud up here, right? And that's nothing entirely surprising. Looking at Mara, if you ask me about potential target for Mara, I gotta say, let me see here. I gotta say that I think minimally is probably gonna hit this horizontal here, just around 50, 52. I do think that Mara is gonna hit somewhere up here, like in the 150s to 200 zone. I do think that Mara is possible for it to do that. But we'll see. I mean, you have to break through all these resistance to get up there, right? Cypher, a little bit of a difficult case here because I don't have much price history. I do think it's going to hit around the arc and the horizontal up here around like 20. When else going to hit some of the targets around like the 80s, I really don't know. But I do think that it's probably going to hit up like 20 at some point, which is still a pretty decent gain from here. Irene, where do I think Irene's going to go? Probably going to go up to the horizontal up here around like 35. Could it go up higher? Certainly can, right? Or it can stall up here in the arc in the 20s, depending on what Bitcoin does, right? If Bitcoin goes up really high, I think it's possible to hit like 60, 70, things like that, around like 10x from here. It's already made a pretty significant gain from the bottom. It already went like more than 10x from the bottom here to the angle over here, right? So it doesn't necessarily have to go up that much further. But if it does, I can totally see maybe 70 ends up getting hit, maybe 100 ends up getting hit. I don't know. Depends on what Bitcoin does, right? But it has to push for a lot of resistance to try and get there. Terawolf, where I think price might land, well, it depends. If it ends up breaking above the arc over here, we might revisit the area up here around 7.2. Ultimately, I do think it's possible for Terawolf to close around like 26.5, somewhere around there. Maybe higher, depends on what Bitcoin does, but that's kind of what I'm looking at. BTPT, let me get rid of the Fibonacci level here. If you're talking about price targets, I'm thinking if we're able to find support, we're able to break through this resistance zone, this arc over here will be challenged because it's probably going to get up to the teens. We might end the cycle around like 20. We might end the cycle around 40. I don't know. I just have a hard time really seeing all the way to like 80. I think it's like just absolutely insane. Even going to like 10 or like 20, that's already a lot of gains from here. So be a little bit more, conservative the cycle. I don't know, but it looks like we've probably bottomed here. Cores, in terms of where cores would go right now, I think you are able to potentially hit some of the targets up here now that you have broken above the horizontal. I can totally see like 13, 15, and then potentially 22. Some of the higher level, maybe like 45. I mean, even going all the way to the top of the angle here. So top of the Gann square around like 92. But like one level at a time, right? Depends on what Bitcoin does. Riot, I have a little bit hard time really trying to figure out. I really do like to see it challenge back around like 12. If you're able to break back above, challenge the arcs up here in the 20s, and then after that, you might talk about maybe revisiting the previous high around the 60s, and you might end up hitting like the triple digits here around like the 130 range. Although that's going to take a lot of work. So you're trying to push through. I don't know whether or not like the fact that Riot looks a little bit weaker compared to all the other ones. I just don't know whether or not it has enough juice to really push all the way up to the 110s. Maybe it stalls somewhere in the 20s. Maybe it stalls somewhere in the 60. I don't know, but that's kind of what I'm thinking. If it ends up hitting triple digits, that'd be like, pretty amazing. HUD 8, revisit 20 level, break above, you're talking about the 30s, break above, you're talking about 65, which is close to the previous all-time high. Could the cycle end up going up to like maybe like the 110s, 130s? Possible, but we have a lot of resistance to break through before you get there, right? Anyway, those are just my thoughts on the miners. Just wanted to do a quick update. Yeah, let me know in the comments if you have any thoughts, any questions, let me know. All right, take care, bye.